All right, everybody. Another beautiful Tuesday morning. I'm back with the boys, Bill and Matt. Why are we late today? Whose fault is it that we're late today, Bill? What's going on?
We don't like to point fingers at people, Evan, but no, I think it's all of our fault today. We were all Matt and I were talking and lost track of time. And then we came downstairs and had a little, I guess, technical difficulties where we sounded like chipmunks on the soundboard. So there's a reason why we're running a few minutes late today, and I'm sure it's probably because somebody special who wanted to listen today was running a few minutes late. So we don't care. We're good. We're on our good time. Evan, thanks for getting us up and ready.
Thank you.
And handling those technical difficulties. Matt, thanks for being back. And
Thanks.
we were talking last week about the E and the ease process, right? And how we have our eased method of selling, and we want to make sure that we're always following through on process. Last week we talked about engage, the first E in eased, and engage is how we simply engage with other people. Because I don't know if you guys realize this, but it's pretty difficult to sell something if we don't engage with somebody, right? It's still a belly-to-belly sport. And engage is all about how we get stuff in the top of the funnel. How do we bring people into the process and start to have good, healthy conversations. So we're going to continue with that theme today. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely. And for us, engage, and I say it all the time, and I've said it before on Breakfast with Bill, when we think of engaging, prospecting comes to mind. When we think of prospecting, we think usually of just making phone calls and making a lot of them. And as sales managers, when we fall behind, perhaps in the month, in the forecast, what do we say? We say, go prospect, go do it some more. So for us, it's not only about more, but how can you be more effective is important. And how do you have a diversified approach? Especially with COVID, we've learned throughout the year that some of us that might have made calls can't always do that. Some of us that have canvassed areas, the sales job where they could knock on doors, drop in at least to get information.
Not happening.
Can't do that. Some of us who have always relied on emails continue to get that.
It's a great crutch.
Yeah,
we
that
still have
average
that crutch.
response. But anyways, we're excited to jump into it today.
Yeah, amen. And one thing with that, for those who are making calls, when we think of that, and I don't know if we touched on this last week. I think last week we spent most of our conversation on LinkedIn. But for those who are making phone calls, just an underscore and a reminder, the importance of the personal branding that happens in an email or a voicemail, and then the email that follows up with it. You know, I had a session with a client yesterday, a group of salespeople and a client, and we talked about voicemails. And they said, you know, I just leave voicemails. I do, and the challenge I had for them was, and I think we talked about this last week, and I'm just reminding you guys, politely reminding you, leave yourself a voicemail and say to yourself at the end of that voicemail, after you listen to it back, would I call that person back, right? It goes a long way. So remember, even if we are leaving voicemails, they're personal branding moments that we get to take advantage of.
And not too many people think about the voicemail. I'm always in sessions, especially during COVID, of okay, what's that email that we can write? What are those questions or the magic bullet for that email? No one ever talks about the voicemail and how the voicemail can be powerful. And again, it's branding, it's marketing. It's that name recognition.
Yeah, that's right.
So sorry to jump in.
No, you're perfect, because think about the stats we talked about the other day, right? And I think it takes an average of like 8 point something. Let's call it 9 touches to reach somebody. So we have to reach out 8 or 9 times before we actually connect with somebody. And that's a combination of voicemails or emails. How many of us quit after 2? By the way, you notice I said us because I'm one of them. So how many of us quit after 2 attempts versus being persistent and dedicated enough to go to that 8 or 9 attempts to get through to somebody? And it's a matter of mindset, right? So when you think that I'm picking up the phone and if somebody doesn't answer, it's a failure. Well, that's wrong. When you call someone and you leave a voicemail, when you get someone's voicemail, leaving that quick, powerful, succinct, professional message, right? That's part of your personal branding. Are you leaving a message that somebody listens to and is like, I'd like to talk to that person. Or is it something like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't pick up the phone, right? So do you leave that message that's enticing and engaging and then follow it up with its kissing cousin, the email, because they always go out 2 by 2, send the email out. We do that 3, 4, 5, 6 times. We're building, somebody knows who we are when they finally connect with us. And it's at that point more of a warm call than it is a cold call. So don't become frustrated when you get voicemails. Think of them as what they are. We're chipping away, right? We're just swinging the axe. We're getting closer to chopping down the tree with each one of those we leave, and eventually we'll get there. So just...
Well, to speak on the point about 8 point, whatever it was, 9, I've seen as high as like 13 on some articles. There's a lot of info out there. A lot of people stop because they don't have a plan of what happens after that first call or that second call. We're big fans of account planning. One of the, I'd say, big action items I'm doing this year with a lot of team members are, your top 25 or 50, the relevant number for the industry, and just in Q1. So what is your plan after the first call, including what's the messaging? When will you call them back? Because the likelihood is that we're not going to get them. If we do, great. We just struck gold. But how are you going to have a diversified approach? How are you going to plan those touches all the way out? Because we, with a lot of organizations, we were looking at prospecting and digging into CRM. And in this process of getting your top 25, top 50 of that acute target fixation that you like to talk about, I can't tell you how many times salespeople were like, whoa, this would be on my top 25 list, and I haven't reached out to them in 9 months.
Yeah.
So you have to have intentionality in the account planning. Not only who am I going after them one time, but what happens after that?
Yeah.
What happens next?
God forbid they pick up the phone in that process too, right?
Yeah.
Because then what do I say? Evan, looks like you have something to share.
Well, I just had a quick question. I was curious if I could take a step back here. You guys were talking about the frequency and being consistent with messaging people, but what does the messaging itself actually look like in those circumstances, especially if you're reaching out to someone for the first time? Maybe they're not familiar with you. They've never heard your name. They've never heard of your company before. What's the actual messaging like when you reach out to those people, be it email or phone?
Sure. So the first voicemail that we're going to leave, we want to have it be short, sweet, succinct, right, and have it be meaningful to the individual. And it's not about us. It's not so much about who we are or what we do. Worse, it's about them and the outcomes and solutions we provide. So something the effect of, hey, Evan, Bill Tellerico of the Tellerico Group, we help organizations like yours get great results out of the sales team. I'm going to send you an email to make it easier for you to follow up. You can reach me at this number. And then in the email, we get to expand on that a little bit. So the email goes out with it. Evan left you a voicemail earlier today, thought this might be easier for you to reply. Here's how we help organizations like yours. And it has to be outcome focused. So it's not about what we do. It's about what we deliver, the impact to you and what we deliver, the solution, what you can experience on the back end of an engagement with us, right? And, we often talk internally, Evan, and some of the marketing we do, and how when we meet people, our elevator pitch is something to the effect of, how people struggle to get their sales teams to be effective? Yeah, we fix that, right? So how do you make that into the voicemail? And that's what people are really going to listen for. For those of you who are prospecting and leaving voicemails, don't get so much into how we make the sausage, right? We want to sell the experience of the picnic, and that's what people want to buy.
I think, too, especially we talk about not ever assuming, confirming. If we are going to take an educated guess and it's someone that we know probably has this problem because it's our niche or, that's the industry that we play in. I think questions are great too. Asking questions, are you experienced this as many other people that we interact with or talk to, however you want to spin that.
Have you finalized your plan for how you're going to achieve your Q1 revenue targets? Things like that. Asking people, if you're, depending on who you're calling, for us, it would be something like that. Have you finalized your Q1 plan about whatever?
How often do you hit your Q1 plan or 2, 3, or 4 plans? I usually
Yeah,
ask that.
right. Yeah, we're working with sales owners and or sales leaders and business owners about how they achieve sales results. So when we talk to them, and be like, yeah, just out of curiosity, how accurate is your team's forecast? Over the past year, how accurate was your forecast? How close did you come to hitting your sales goals? How consistently do you see your salespeople turning in the numbers you need? Things like that, because that's what gets people in the moment of having a conversation versus telling them what we do and telling them why we think we're great.
And I know this feels like it's so far away and distant, but if we are in person and we run into someone, they say, "What do you do?" We usually hear this laundry list of okay, let me tell you about this. Why don't you take a seat?
Because
this is gonna be a while. When someone asks me, I say, we grow companies.
Yeah,
that's it. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
well, what do you mean by that? And that is the best thing.
To
get them engaged, and they want to know. And what owner, salesperson, sales manager doesn't want to grow?
Yeah, and the goal of that, and we're going all over the place here today, but that's okay. I think the goal of that elevator pitch, or that value positioning statement, as we like to say, that value positioning statement is to get them to ask how or what or why.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And if they ask how, we're in business. So, oftentimes I might say to somebody, how most organizations struggle to get sales results? Yeah, we fix that. And that leads to the question of how or why you, or whatever, right? So, be thoughtful about it. Just don't be the robot that says we have 6 locations and 443 employees and blah, blah. Who cares, right? Who cares? So be mindful of that. Personal branding inside of our voicemails, don't forget that great opportunity. It's a gift, right? You think about how much money organizations spend on marketing to get their message in front of people. And here you are with a free opportunity to get your personal branding message inside of someone's voicemail box that you get to control the narrative on. It's marketing. That's all that is, right? We're not going to get a lot of people picking up the phone, but we do it consistently enough, and we send them the email that goes with it. And over time, it might take 3, 4, 5 series. It might take 3, 4, 5 months. Somebody's going to reply to that email, and they're going to ask you how. And if they don't, that's okay, right? Because you're doing it consistently enough that the others will. So that's just part of the process. And then just checking time. We're one last thought probably before we wrap up today. But centers of influence. We like to talk about COIs, or centers of influence. And COIs are those people that can take us to the people we need to talk to. So think of them as not formal partners, but just people that are connectors. Right? And they're going to look different for your industry. Some industries, attorneys can be great COIs, accountants can be great COIs. Anybody could be a great COI. Depending on what you do, you might want to build a network of construction managers, or construction companies, or insurance agents, or whatever that might be. But when you're working with those individuals, make sure you don't come across as a net taker. Right? If you want to become a great networker and a great connector, be connected by great connectors, you have to be willing to connect yourself.
It's really funny that you say that, because just last week, I received a call from someone I haven't talked to in a long time, and the transition from the genuine how are you, how's it go,
how's your family,
by the way, can I tell you what we do? I was like, well, you asked me how Lucy was doing, and I was telling you a response. You're like, well, okay, anyways, moving on. wait a second. So you could feel it right away. But one thing I wanted to mention there, and I know we've talked about when people say, hey, how are you? Oh, man, busy, good and busy. Something that dawned on me, as a salesperson, you're always trying to find new prospects. You're always trying to fill the funnel. You're always trying to get more people in your pipeline. When someone's saying, how's it going? Yeah, things are pretty good, but I'm trying to get the next deal, or I'm trying to continue to build that funnel, or I'm trying to build up the pipeline after coronavirus. Don't be afraid to say that, because they might be like, well, oh, okay, so who are those people?
Yeah, and if they're a helper, if they're a connector, a natural connector, they're going to want to jump in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like to always tell people when they say, how you doing? Say, we're doing great. We're one client away from our goal. And it lets people know, like, we're successful. We're where we need to be. Thank God we've been so blessed. But we're still taking on more clients, and we can still take at least one more if you have somebody you'd like to refer to us. So, I love saying, we're just one client away from being at our goal. And it lets people know that, we're still in that client acquisition mode, but we're also, we're not sucking wind here. We're having some success. So something to think about. However you do that, do it yourself. Don't do it second rate like me.
And be very intentional with your centers of influence, COIs. For those of you that we've taken through some planning, we always talk about what are the 5 most important relationships this quarter or this year to develop. Again, relationships aren't necessarily from bad to good. They could just be good to great. So for those of you that want to leverage your relationships in our industry where you can do that, you have to be intentional about it. And you have to put a plan in place of these individuals to connect with, to discuss, what a good client looks like for us, but be prepared to help them. There's no easier way to get business than helping other people.
Amen. If you want to grow your business, help someone else grow theirs, and you can't help but be successful.
Yep.
And help someone else, and it'll always come back. Now, if you're not somebody that likes helping other people, you might want to tune into another show, because I don't think we can help you too much. That's just our approach. We believe in leading with that genuineness, that authenticity, and that desire to help someone else, and it comes back to you in spades. And I don't even know what that means, by the way, when people say in spades. I'm guessing that means a lot, but it comes back to you with a lot. And but be authentic, be genuine, and remember those great questions that help us transition into business conversations with.
That's a big thing. People always. So again, sorry to interrupt, but
I love when he takes over. Go ahead.
Often.
Yeah.
But people are okay, Matt. I listed out the individuals. We never want to view people as objects and manipulate. That's not what this is. So just to be clear with that. But I'm in these conversations, but I never know how to go from them being a close friend, family member, to business. So how do you do that? And a couple of things real quick.
Sure. So I think the easiest transition when we go from asking, how's Lucy? How you guys dealing with this? How's Paige? You guys doing okay with quarantine? How's your family? Whatever. And if it's somebody who I have a relationship with but have never talked business with, the easiest transition for us, and the one that puts them at most ease and makes them least uncomfortable, is, Matt, it occurred to me the other day, I've never bothered to ask you about your business. Can you tell me a little bit about your business? So, yeah, good. Matt tells me a little bit about his business. What's a good client? And then question number 2, what's a good client look like for you? All right. Then question number 3, so what should I be listening for when I have conversations that makes me think of you? Right, because that gives them a position to say their unique value prop, and give you a little modified value positioning statement of what they do well. And then what do you think happens after that conversation? In most cases, what do you think happens after that?
Comes back to you.
They tend to ask us those questions after you say, okay, I'll keep that in mind. People will probably look at you and say, well, Bill, tell me about your business. And what's a good client look like for you? And what should I be listening for that makes me think of you? And people always say, what if they don't?
Who cares?
Who cares? Because did you think they were going to give you a referral if they didn't? I mean, if somebody doesn't care enough about you to ask you about your business, what a good client looks like, and when they should think of you, after you've asked them those questions, what makes you think they were going to ever give you a referral? And what makes you think that there's some magic bullet we could say to them like, hey, can you give me a referral? Right? Now, when we ask those questions of someone else, when someone else is asking those questions of us and we're giving answers, the one thing we want to do that they maybe didn't do is at the back end of that, when we tell them what we're thinking. If I say, here's what a good client looks like for me, and here's what you should listen for. If Matt's my guy that I'm talking to about this, and I'm looking at Matt's face, and as I'm telling him these things, Matt's eyes go up and to the left. Guess what Matt's doing? He's thinking about people, right? Matt's thinking. Up and to the left is thinking. So if Matt goes up and to the left, he's thinking about somebody. I need to have the courage to follow up and say, looks like you might be thinking of somebody we could help. Or who? Go.
If his eyes go to the right, is he looking at the buffet?
You had to bring up buffets. In the times of quarantine, we don't get too many buffets.
Okay.
But my man Evan and I found one Sunday, and Evan put a hurting on it, even though he's doing keto. So, but we want to make sure that we're then following up and saying, who's the one person in your network you think we could help? Or it looks like you might be thinking of somebody, ... and let them fill in the blank. And let's pursue that conversation then. And if they come up with something, we're like, yeah, I think you could help Larry. So, okay, why do you think I could help Larry? Because Larry struggles with this. Great. How do you think we should connect with Larry? We want to take that through. Don't take, I'll send an email and connect you guys. Or don't take, I'll connect you guys. Because when they leave that conversation, they're probably going to forget. So anyways, I'm way off on a tangent. Any thoughts, questions? Evan, you have anything you want us to follow up on?
Well, we got Regis watching over on YouTube, patiently awaiting. He's got a question for us. He said, in the cleaning business, it's sometimes hard to engage the potential client because they know cleaning. So how do you get around that?
Yeah, great question, Regis. I would tell you that, and I don't work with you personally, so I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I would like you to go back and I would challenge your statement of they know cleaning. Right? Because I can tell you they don't know cleaning as well as you know cleaning. What they know of cleaning is a previous experience, be it good or bad. Usually it's bad. So although they might think they know cleaning, Regis, they don't know cleaning the way you do. They don't know your industry the way you do. They don't have the subject matter expertise that you do. What they know is a bad experience, and you don't want to be judged based on their previous worst experience. So you need to challenge that, and if they pretend like they know cleaning or tell you they know cleaning, I would tell you be patient, be in the moment. And I don't want to contradict anything you might have said with Regis in the past, but be patient in the moment and say, well, tell me about your experience. It sounds like you have experience. Tell me about it. And let them get everything out. You know, we talk about the bucket. Everybody shows up to a conversation with their pail of water, and that pail of water represents all the information they have. They want you to know everything. Like these are all my, this is everything I'm showing up to the conversation with is in my bucket. Regis, you have a bucket. You have all kinds of good stuff that you want to share with them. You don't have an opportunity to get anything out of your bucket and into mine until I empty my bucket. So let somebody tell you about their previous experiences, good or bad. Let them tell you about what they liked. Let them tell you the one reason why they're in the market today talking to you. Let them tell you the one thing or one reason they're willing to have a conversation right now. And then you get to share all that goodness that you bring.
Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to break into the appointment, I do work with Regis, so I know what he's probably talking about. What's the one thing that you'd like to improve? Because we always talk about, what is it that when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, or reverse?
If the pain of, how about you just throw me with this? This is my wife's favorite quote. But we will not change until the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change.
So when we're having those same conversations, they're saying, oh, things are pretty good. I don't know if we want to change the economy, coronavirus. We're still figuring things out. Okay, great. Appreciate that. What's the one thing that you'd like to improve, though, of the relationship? And keep it open-ended and ask it. And some people might say, oh, nothing, hang up. But for those individuals that might say, you know what? I wish they would communicate better. Or I wish they would bill us on time. If we ask a one thing question, pause, let them answer. Don't throw out the life raft when we ask a tough question, as a lot of salespeople do. You ask a good question, wait 1 second, and say, "Could it be A, B, or C?" Allow them to fill it in. But anyways.
Here's most salespeople's reactions to, I wish they would be better with billing. Our billing department's great. Right? It's like, we have the best billing department of all time.
We don't even have to bill you.
You don't even have to pay. We're free. We eliminate the problem of billing.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, specifically what's the challenge with billing, or how has that created an issue for you, or right, dig deeper. Always be digging deeper. There's another question we can ask in every scenario. So, all right, we're really up against the time. We've kept you guys a long time. In closing, I want to pay a quick tribute to a good man who we lost yesterday, a great sales guy, Joe Leonard, auto broker out of Steubenville, Ohio, the father-in-law of my brother-in-law. Joe was a great man, 87 years old. He fought esophageal cancer for the past year or so. And I mentioned to you guys a couple months ago that my uncle passed, and it was his birthday. A couple days after his birthday, he passed. And on his birthday, I said, I'll give him a call tomorrow. Right? Saddest day in the history of the human race is when we learn the meaning of tomorrow, because that's when we started procrastinating and squandering opportunities. And I never had the chance to call my uncle. That was a lost opportunity. Well, with Joe, this past fall, my brother-in-law said, hey, he doesn't have a lot of time left, loves golf. We're going to take advantage of this. I want to go and set up a golf outing. And we did. So we were able to set up 2 foursomes. We went out, had a great day. Joe was only able to play 9 holes with us and not 18, which was perfect. But we had a great lunch. We had some time to spend with him, and it was really a moment that I'll always remember. And Joe was a guy. And so take advantage of those moments, right? Don't always think we're going to have tomorrow. Don't always say tomorrow. Don't do that to yourself, right? Because we never know if we get that. So embrace the ones you love. And if you have things that you want to share with somebody, let's make sure we do that today. When we do that, we're full. We're whole people. It's part of our selling. It makes us better salespeople. It makes us better spouses. It makes us better parents. It makes us better humans. So embrace today. Do something you know is going to make it great, and do it for someone else. And I think that Joe, Joe's driving a late model, clean, really clean, power everything, Billy, which is what I always say about cars, right? Because he was the greatest auto broker in the world, but he's driving one of those, hopefully through the pearly gates today. And, tell somebody today that you love them, and let's not wait for tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. God bless you guys.